All right, number 10, design a URL shortener like bit.ly. All right, so for the objective of this problem, say you are on Twitter and you want to share a link, so you want to share an article link, and typically you would have a long string of characters, and it's kind of messy. You only have so many characters to work with on Twitter, and it's almost impossible to kind of memorize. And so, a much more convenient way of dealing with that would be to put it through a service like Bitly, where you submit this long string of URL, and then it will return with its base, and then you get you would get a 7-character string back, and that is a lot easier to visualize, to be able to share. And so for this, the way we're going to deal with this is we are going to use base 62 encoding. And so for that, we're going to have the options. We'll have A through Z lowercase, A through Z uppercase, and then 0 through 9. And that gives us 26. That gives us a total of 62 characters to work with. And if we are trying to generate a string with 7 characters total, then that gives us an option of 62 to the power of 7, which comes out to 3.5 trillion unique 7-character strings that we can work with. And if we are getting 1,000 requests per second, then that gives us 111 years before we would run out of our options. So typically this is pretty good. It gives us enough to work with. And so a good way to have the system set up is you would have a counter that would contain the values between 1 and 3.5 trillion, since that's how many options we have. It would generate a large number, say, and then we would use base 62 encoding in order to get back a string of numbers that are from the value 1 to 62. And so you would do that by dividing this by 62 and then getting the remainder of 62. So it might turn out a string such as, we might have like 42, 4, 51, 29, 56. And that would return to us, oh yeah, and then all of these, so you'd have a map, and so then you would have like ABC is 1, 2, 3, and then this would be at like 27, and then you would have 0 starting at 53, and so on. And so for this, you would get something like PDYC4, and that's how we would generate our 7-character string. And so in order to make this operational, ideally we don't want to have everything on one server, because if we're getting a lot of requests in at once, then it's not going to be able to handle that. And if the server crashes, then we're out of luck. So we're going to use Zookeeper, I'm gonna have this set up. And then it's gonna be connected to, we're gonna have a bunch of servers. And so it's gonna have all of our values from the range of 1 to 3.5 trillion, but it's gonna be broken up in such a way that you'll have like 0 to 1 million, and then 1 million to 2 million, and so on. And then I think 3.5 trillion divided by a million is 35,000, so you would have a total of 35,000 servers. And so what this does is it takes all of the values that we have remaining and it splits it up amongst all the servers. So this would just get like, this would have 1 to 1 million. And so we'd have our user, and then it's going to go through what's called a load balancer. And so this is just kind of like a filter so that we have our user input coming in, and then it's just going to divide amongst. So we don't have just one server working. So the user gets filtered through the load balance, gets sent to a server, and then we go through that process of generating a URL. And so if a user were to use up all of their values that they have, then they would be able to go back to Zookeeper, and Zookeeper would be keeping a track of everything that's remaining and continue to divide it up. So that will continue working like that. And then we're gonna also have, and then we'll have our database down here. So that's gonna be generating, and it'll all just get stored to the database. And then we're also gonna have a cache that these servers are gonna be connected to. And the purpose of this, this will be a convenient thing to have because realistically you'll probably have certain links that are gonna have more popularity, and therefore multiple users are probably gonna be putting the same URL through. And so if we have a cache, this way the servers can receive that long URL, can go to the cache and look and see if it already exists, and in that case it won't have to generate a new URL, it'll just be able to connect and retrieve that. And we'd use a LRU for this so that if we were to happen to run out of all our options, then we can just take whatever's at the end, the least reused data point, and then we would just update that, and that would get reused, and yeah, and that's how you design a URL shortener.